Hello there. Hi, welcome to this video. I'm gonna explain you something. Thank you. Okay. So hello, I'm Arnoz, and I will make a video to explain you my stuff for your virtual pinball, your pin cab. So first of all, I'm French, so I'm very sorry for my accent, for my English. It's not my native language. You may hear some merde or putain, but no worry, it's a French punctuation, so don't worry about that. So, I will explain all my stuff. You want to make a virtual pinball, you need electronic devices, so I've made some. First of all, here's a KL25. It's the brain of your pin cab. You will plug on it some button, some input, like button, plunger, and output to drive some toys. So I've made that thing. It's KL Shield. No worry with DuPont cable or shitty thing. You just have to plug your pin on KL Shield like that. It's pretty easy, you know. It's safe also. Then you have everything on plug with screw. So you don't need to solder anything. That's good. You have I brought a lot of things on it. I will explain. First of all, you have inputs for button, flipper, magna, start, extra ball, coin, everything. You can plug them here. You have ground, 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 a lot of ground. All ground are the same, you know. So you can plug one ground here for all your button. Then the other side of the button, you will plug it for maybe start button here, extra ball here, coin here. It works with a Pinscape config tool. I have saved for config files for your Pinscape config tool, so it's very easy. So here you have a lot of plug for your button. So start, extra ball, coin 1, coin 2, launch ball, exit, quit, left flipper, left magna save, right magna save, fire, tilt, door, exit, service minus, service plus, enter, volume plus, volume minus, and night mode. If you need more button, you can configure them in a Pinscape config tool, then plug them here on spare output. That outputs and that outputs are spare outputs. I will explain later. So that's basic stuff. So then you maybe want to plug a plunger. So I have that solution. It's called POTA, like potentiometer, and it's a simple potentiometer with plug. It's for that use. More easy to understand. So you have your plunger, your physical plunger with that stuff. It's a 3D impression, 3D print, sorry. You know, when you move it, it moves potentiometers. You have 3.3 volts, plunger, ground, and launch button. Here you have 3.3 BO plunger, then ground. That 3 wire goes here on that 3 wire. Then I have a button. If you have no launch button on some table like AC/DC, Attack from Mars, there's no plunger, it's a physical button. So you may plug that button on the button entrance, don't remember where is it, launch button, launch ball here, by one wire. Then if you put up, okay, so that's first thing. You may want to easily calibrate your plunger without opening a Pinscape config tool, then clicking on the right button and everything. I have one stuff can be cool. It's caliber board. Caliber board it's just one button, one LED. You have to push the button 3 seconds. LED will blank, then it stay on. When it stay on, just move your plunger like that. Then it's calibrated automatically, easily, just one button. You may find caliber tool on the brain board too. I have caliber stuff here. What's brain board and also what's ROM service? Brain board is just a button board. You just have button on it. Then you just plug them here, directly here or here. Then the caliber parts, caliber button, LED, +5 ground on at 4 plug here. So you have door button, exit, minus, plus, OK. For ROM configuration, the VP ROM configuration. Then I also put a night mode button and the volume minus, volume plus. You can configure all that button everywhere you want. If you don't need night button, but you need anything else, I don't know, a button for anything, you just have to configure it in a Pinscape config tool. Then in your software, maybe Visual Pinball or Pinball FX or Future Pinball. Then you just have to configure it and put on mask night mode, then write anything else. It's just a button. ROM service is only 5 button. I'm okay. Door button, exit, minus, plus, okay. But same as a brain board, you can configure them as you want. Just put paper on it and write what you want and configure it as you want. You have ground, door button, exit button, minus, plus, okay. Just plug, no soldering tool. Nothing to solve. Just have to screw, then plug. So we're okay with that three step. It's okay for inputs. You can put button, then plunger. So let's check for outputs. So basically you want to drive maybe toys, maybe solenoid or contactors or lights, LED, stroboscope, motor, shaker, anything you want. You may use Pinscape outputs. Basically, one KL25 has, never remember, maybe 10 or 11 outputs, warp PWM, that are modulable. You have a lot of digital outputs, 1 or 0 only, but you have 11, let's go on 11. PWM, so variable outputs. You need one for plunger. Your plunger use one PWM. Oh. Then you have 10 more. PWM outputs are great for lights because you can graduate lights, so you have a million of colors on LED, on a flasher, or anything else. Then it's also good for working with contactors or motors, so you can graduate them. You can send less power in a contactor solenoid, so they can be hot. It's a flipper and a shine logic in a Pinscape. You can use that. I prefer using a lot PWM. I don't like digital output, but it's your Pinscape. So basically, I have that plug with 8 PWM output. There are 8 from KL25. Using that output is with MOSboard full 4 and MOSboard full 8. It's like the red for MOSFET boards, the Asian ones. So it's French ones. It's different. They all have, so it's the same thing, 4 output and 8 outputs. So except that it's the same thing. So you can drive them with PWM outputs here with that wire 2, 4 or 1, 8. Then you can configure in Pinscape config tool some other digital outputs on spare outputs. Then you can plug them here if you want. So you can have a lot of them. It's like typical MOSFET board. My MOSboard full 8 and 4 boards have one fuse holder for each output. Each output can drive 5 amps max. 5, 5, 5, 5, and it's 20 amps max total outputs on same time. You have one power LED and 8 output LEDs. So it's cool for testing, configuring, checking if you have a problem. If the LED is on, so the issue is maybe with the fuse, or maybe with your choice or something else. It needs 12 volt and ground, the same 12 and ground than outputs. Check schematics and schematics and other stuff on my laboratory. You have full of documentation, and it's driven by 1 ground from KL, not the same that one. The ground from KL, then 8 outputs. Same thing, power LED, 4 LED, and inputs and outputs. For outputs, then it's ground side, and on you have your toys here, and on the other side you put your plus side on your PSU. It's optoelectronic protected. There's a tiny resistor to have less consumption for KL25. So that's my basic stuff. MOSboard full 8 and full 4. If you want more PWM output, I have one thing called the mollusk. The mollusk is that board. You plug it on that extension. It uses 1 PWM output, then it offers you a lot of another PWM outputs. One mollusk gives you 16 outputs. 16? Yeah, 16. So you plug it. Where am I? Just like that. Very easy. Up. Up. Then you have 16 more PWM outputs. If you want more output, another mollusk, then you plug it here on the same PWM. You can have 16 more outputs. You can have a lot of PWM output for many light, many toys. So that mollusk just add output. It can't drive. It just add outputs. To drive, you have many solutions. First of all are MOS 4 and MOS 8. There's difference between them. It's MOSboard full 8 and MOS 4. MOS 8 and MOSboard full 4 and MOS 4. It's not the same thing. MOSboard full are driven by KL25 outputs, digital or PWM. That board are drive-by mollusk. You can't plug them directly here. It didn't work. Never, never, never. I wrote here, never use alone. Okay? That's good. So, you plug your mollusk on your KL shield. You can plug it directly on a KL 25 if you want, but it's better with that shield. And on that side, you need ground and 12 volt from your toys PSU, and you have 1 to 8 and 9 to 16. You can plug, you want 16 outputs, 2 MOS 8, as you want, where you want it. You know, it's only signal. You don't need a fat wire. It's only signal. That way and that way is signal. Power is here, here, and here. Same thing here. That's signal. So tiny wire are okay. AWG maybe 28 or it's okay. After you need good wire for arm drawing. So that board is the same as most full 4, but it can drive 8 amps per output. 8. And it's 20 amps max and 20 amps max too. You have the LED for checking the output LED, the same thing, fuzzle door, power LED, it's exactly the same thing. So that board drive 8 amp per output and the same. You can also want to drive tiny toys, so maybe button LED or tiny toys. You can use mini MOS 4. It's not a MOS 4, it's a mini MOS. It drives 1 amp only per output and have only 1 fuse holder for 4 outputs. It can drive 4 amps simultaneous, but it's the same. You plug it here. So with that, for example, you can drive 8 contactor for the toy like a motor, shaker, and two other contactor for flipper. Then for tiny LED LED and button. You want only 4 amps outputs, you can put 4 of them. You only want 8 outputs, okay, just put that. Maybe later you need more. That's not a problem. It's very evolutive. I don't make all-in-one products like my friend Oak, who made really good products. Oak micros are really great. But my philosophy is a bit different. I don't like all-in-one product, but maybe because it's more evolutive for me. If you just need that shit, you just pay for that shit and not for any other. And if it's only material, you have one MOSFET who burn, we don't know why, maybe a mistake. Oh, sorry, maybe a mistake. You just have to change that, but you can still play with your pin cap with other toys, you know. Only that part have to be repaired. So I prefer. It's more cable, more wire, and not so easy, not so tiny, but you can put them where you want. So that's my philosophy. It's quite different. Choose your one. That's okay for that board. I have another board which I think cool is the MOS light. The MOS light, you can see it here, is the same thing, but it's 16 outputs, and it's for flasher and stroboscope light, because I've made little tiny flash. Hey, focus. So flash is a tiny little flash with 4 LED RGB not addressable at all. It's just classic flash. And I have that stuff, the DTG. Don't ta gueule. It means literally in your face. It's a stroboscope. I like stroboscope. I was lighting guy before. And stroboscope. That's life. So you may want a classic backboard with a 5 flash and 2 stroboscope. And to drive that, I have a special board. It's more light. So you plug it like the other. 16 input on the 16 output of a mollusk. It works with a mollusk always. So you plug it, then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 outputs on plug for RGB flasher. 12-volt input and ground input, and you plug it ground RGB plus 12 volts RGB. Clack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then a spare output for stroboscope lights. You can put 2 of them. It drives 1 amps per output, so you can plug that flash, but it's very low consumption. You can drive and plug bigger LED or maybe 2 or 3 flash or anything you want, maybe RGB ribbon. You can plug what you want. It's very easy. And of course you can plug 2 or 4 of my DTG. That's okay for classic toys. Okay, you can of course I think you can plug maybe 8 or 9 mollusks. Just have good wire. Good wire is important. Good PSU. Meanwhile, PSU are great. Chinese PSU are sometimes not so great. It's luck. Okay. I have some other stuff. Is volt output. It's just you don't need to put any 5 volt or any voltage input on my kill shield. It uses the USB voltage. It's okay. In the spare outputs or inputs, you can use them as if you need them, use them. If you don't need them, no worry about them. All the PTC1, PTC2, PTA1, output 1, cal 25, you know, the right paper here, you know, all that thing, all that thing, PTA1, PTA2, PTD4, PTA12, all that stuff is what's here. You can check PT8, 13, PT829, 823, and what it don't know, not sure of the word correspond what it means on with my config file. You can plug where you want and make your own config file. It's not problem. It's just a shield. There's no electronic stuff. I see there's one electronic stuff on it. It's just a condenser and a resistor to clean the plug signal. It less jitter on it. It's the only electronic stuff on that. It's just DuPont plug. Just that. Okay. I also have, I have a fuse box. It's just 16 fuse holder, then input output or input output as you want, no preservation. So you may like that. Just to know, all of my stuff have a tiny dick on it. So you're sure it's a real one. You see that? Tiny dick. As I have a tiny dick, I put tiny dick everywhere. No worries about that. What I have that stuff. RGB resistor. Focus, please. No focus? Focus. So it's just 3 resistor. If you have RGB button like Luminarc or RGB button, they work with 3.3 volt and 2.8 volt. That's a bit shady. So if you want to drive them with maybe where are they? Maybe with that you can drive RGB button with that. It's not only for flash, or you can drive what you want. You can drive button, RGB button, left flipper button, magnet button, fire button. You can drive them with that Minimus 4. You can have 3-way out for RGB, and you have just to plug it between your button and 12 voltage, and it converts 12 voltage to the 3.3 and 2.8 on R, G, and B. That's very simple. That's okay. I think we're okay with that stuff. So, after you may want... Oh, not clean. You may want a real DMD on your pinball. Don't move. That's a DMD, you know. So, to have your own DMD, you need 2 panels, ribbon cable, some more cable. You need 5 volts PSU, 10 amps, and one, it's broken, no worries, just for video, but you need a Nucleo STM32, Nucleo F429ZI card. And I made a Ubuntu DMD shielder with just a shield for your DMD. So basically you need to plug input, 5 volt PSU input here. You plug your Nucleo on it, RG45, RG45. Like that. Very easy. USB on, I don't remember, I think it's like that. USB on it. It used to have a USB here, but there's USB on a brand new card. You will have USB. You put USB here. You put signal ribbon here. I'm gonna try with a real one. Will be better. Don't move. It's live, you know. Just need to open the box. I will show you with a brand new one. A full working one will be better. That's with USB. Better. So you just have to plug it here. Like that. Then power. For power I have ground, then a +5 output volts and 4.3 volts, because some panel need 5 volts, but some panel didn't work with 5 volts, they want 4.3 volts. So I've put a diode to reduce power. If it doesn't work with +5, just have to plug it here, just reverse. That's then to drive it with your pin cab, with your virtual pinball, you need to plug here your USB cable. Then here's a French plug. You like that? I will plug it just to show you how it's easy. No over wire. Just up. Shit. So that because I plug it on the wrong side, you know. Holy sh. Ah la la. We'll see that's better. That's a better thing, you know. And you have a button on it to configure up. You will go in a menu, device mode, RGB sequence to check RGB sequence, color palette, brightness. I like more brightness. Up. Typically for real DMD. So we're okay with that. Last thing for you. I have some other stuff for you. Tac, tac, tac. Bim, bam, boom. Up. So if you want a addressable LED with for backboard, for side, undercab, ring, any effect you want, you need to drive them with a TIN-C board or WeMOS board. There are two solutions. Here's a TIN-C. It can work with a TIN-C 3.1, 3.2, and 4.0. I sell for 4.0, but it's the same thing. So here's a TIN-C to drive your LED, or here's a WeMOS, D1 Mini Pro. Only that WeMOS. Difference between TIN-C and WeMOS. TIN-C is faster, a bit faster, and sometimes you may have some issue with WeMOS because if you have a bad PSU or some electrical problem, you know, there's more issue with WeMOS, but it works, and WeMOS is cheaper, so make your choice. To plug them, I've made two shields, the pinMOS for WeMOS and a tin cap for TIN-C. I will explain you first with pinMOS. So with pinMOS, you may need resistor or it's difficult for me. I'm French. Have you ever tried to speak French? So sometime on WeMOS, you need to put some resistor on outputs, on signal outputs. Sometime yes, sometime no. It depends on your LED ribbon. So here's a resistor. If you want a resistor, you have micro switch, put it on. If you don't want a resistor, on the off side. 6 outputs, 6 switches. So you drive that like that. I can't tell you put on, put off. Basically, on is better, but if it didn't work with on, you put on off. Just have to test. So as I said, you have 6 outputs because WeMOS can drive now it can drive 7 or 8, but 6 is okay. On one outputs you can drive many toys. It's not only one toys per output. So you put your pinMOS, your WeMOS in the pinMOS, and you have your 6 outputs and 2 grounds. Then you plug USB here. It don't need any voltage. It take voltage with USB for the board. You will prefer Teensy. I have a Teensy solution. The difference is Teensy has 8 outputs, and it also can drive many toys with only one output. So it's not only 8 toys. You can put many toys. You put your Teensy inside, up, like that. Then you have your 8 output, and Teensy need +5 and ground. You have a sync plug, but no worry about that for later. So you need +5 and ground. Then USB, and you have a test button on TinCab. Later I will have a test button on PinMOS. I have to develop that, but it's okay with soft, but I have to make new PCB. When you push button, you can have a RGB sequence on all your LED, so you can check they are okay. That's okay. Teensy, TinCab, WeMOS, and PinMOS are for the signal side of the LED. LED have another side, the dark side of the LED. It's power. You need to drive a lot of power with LED. One measure of 144 LED is about 9 amps drawing. So classic backboard with eight lane of 15 centimeters. Sorry, I'm French, but it's 50 centimeters. It's about 40 amps. So I've made volt board. Volt board is just input. You have 2, 5 or 12 volt because you have a 12 volt and 5 volt ribbon. So you can put plus volt, so 12 or 5, and ground. Each plug can accept 20 amps, so that's why there's 2 ground. 2020 it's 40 amps and 2 plus. My tracks are okay for driving 40 amps. Everything is okay, no worry about that. You have also a condenser, 1000 microfarad condenser to clean. It's better, it's safer. You have a power LED. Then you have 4 10 amps fuse holder with fuse. All of the board have no fuse. My volt board have fuse. And you have 4 outputs, 10 amps each for ribbon with V plus and ground. And you have a ground connection. PSU is your 5 volt or 12 volt. Let's talk with 5 volts, it's easier. Your 5 volt PSU come here, distribute voltage to ribbon, then you have to connect ground with ground. And if you have PinMOS, ground with ground for signal, because you have only one wire for signal may come back. So just connect ground. You need always to connect ground between them. If you have a TinCab, it's not a problem because you take 5 volt on ground from the PSU, and if you have a 12 volt PSU, you need to connect just the ground and take 5 volts everywhere else, but you need 5 volts here. So to drive LED, you need as many volt board as you need. Each 40 amps LED ribbon, you need a volt board, one for backboard, maybe one over for side or undercap. You need maybe more. And one PinMOS or one TinCab. Okay, so I think I finished with all my stuff. I can show you some other stuff. I have a nice badge. You like that? You can support me with that. Yes, it's a dick. And I give a nice caring with all orders, if you like. So that's all my stuff. I think even if I'm not a good English speaker, it's cool to explain you with your words how it works. It's easier. I hope you like my video. If you like my stuff, so just put me a finger, not finger banging, just put me a finger on this video. It helped me. You can follow me on YouTube. You can follow me on social medias like Facebook. I have Facebook group. If you have question, you can ask what you want. I'm also on the Discord, the VP Discord, and you can ask me if you have any question. Thank you watching this video, and learn French, please. It will be easier for me next time. See you guys.